Welcome to The Investigators. I'm Vanessa Murphy, investigative reporter at KLAS TV, joined by my colleague, Kyle Payne.
Vanessa, we've got a big one today.
We sure do. Introduce her.
With us today is international sensation and bird owner Heidi Fleiss. Heidi has done a series of stories with us, and there was a controversy that started with Heidi's neighbor contacting the 8 News Now investigators about noise that Heidi's macaws, the beautiful birds, were making. And these are essentially wild animals that Heidi would contend, despite what the county might say, should never be caged. And it was this issue that led to our going there. And actually, Vanessa and I went to meet Heidi the first time. And in order to set things up, let's watch that first story.
What bothers me is that this is affecting me in the way that I live my life. This is absolutely interrupting my day-to-day.
A Las Vegas homeowner fed up with what's going on in the house right next door. She says her new neighbor owns some wildly loud wild birds.
And as 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne tells us in this story you'll only see on 8, her neighbor is no stranger to controversy or to the spotlight.
Whether they know it or not, these two tenants of this home in the Southeast Valley are getting on their next-door neighbor's absolute last nerve.
So here's the thing, they're flying outside. My bedroom window, they perch on the telephone wire that's right outside my bedroom window, and they squawk.
Squawking as early as 6 in the morning, says Shauna Cordova, who hasn't had a chance to meet these two high-flying culprits known by their given names, Gin and Juice, which may be cute, but not cute enough. When they're doing this at the crack of dawn most days since...
I have a new neighbor. I have a new neighbor, and she has an affinity for macaws, and she likes to let them free roam.
And she's...
Heidi Fleiss.
Heidi Fleiss.
Our client is not going to make any comment. At this time, we're in trial.
Yes, that Heidi Fleiss, the one-time Hollywood madam who was convicted at trial and served a 3-year stretch in federal prison way back in the late 1990s, after, at the age of 32, being arrested for pandering, money laundering, and tax evasion. And that Heidi Fleiss, who couldn't make it through an airport.
Where are you off to today, Heidi?
Or down the street, no matter where she went.
They hate you already, boobas. What? They hate you.
Is now this Heidi Fleiss, 60 years old, leaving her home in Pahrump after some 16 years for this Las Vegas home she says is perfect, not just for Gin and Juice, but for all 30 of the birds she plans on bringing with her.
I'd say controversy follows you.
Yes, it does. I don't know. There's something wrong with me. I'll just admit it. There's something wrong with me.
But Fleiss says there was nothing wrong with her when she drove through the neighborhood here one day not too long ago and saw all the high trees near the cemetery across the street. Asked the owner, who by all accounts also had exotic birds here for over 20 years, if he wanted to sell, and according to county property records, passed papers just under a month ago. A purchase, she says, she made for her birds.
They're just birds. They're just birds flying, doing their thing, what they're supposed to do.
But what those birds are supposed to do and what they're legally allowed to do may not match. Fleiss's neighbor here, who made a noise complaint and called the county's code enforcement, says their street is in this green area on a map that prohibits the release of birds because of its proximity to Reed Airport. And this county development code says a homeowner can only have 20 birds. Heidi Fleiss has 30.
I feel that she's going to be very upset when she finds out what the county has to tell her about that.
I think she just doesn't like me, and there's a lot of people like that, and I'll never be able, I can't try and change her mind.
When we met Heidi Fleiss at her new home, she said she wasn't ready to move in yet. Still some work to do. But when she does, she says she plans to make things right with her neighbors. We'll keep you posted. I'm Kyle Payne, 8 News Now. So that was March 11th, 2026. And with that, Vanessa and I welcome Heidi Fleiss. Heidi, thank you for joining us. What do you say to watching that?
Well, when I see it, like for a moment when all this happened, I was like, what was I thinking? Just moving with my birds here. I really thought it out first. And the seller, he's been there, I think, way longer than Sean, had at one time 24 birds living there, macaws. And he also told me he had a permit for them to fly. So that was kind of a big factor in. I was like, this is meant to be. Birds have been here. It's not that I just plopped down with my birds. Birds have been on that property, and you saw, and even the footage are the two he left behind even. So it was thought out. And first thing I did when I moved there is I did leave a note for Shauna to say, "Hi, my name is Heidi, not my last name, and I'd love to meet you," so we could talk about it. Because, yeah, at first, when you do hear them scream, birds, they're very loud. The macaws, especially, they're very loud. But so is a helicopter, a siren, construction work. They're things you eventually get used to. And they're not loud all the time. They're Birds are defined, the defining characteristic, what defines them from every other species is flight. And so it's just makes 0 sense to take that from them, especially if you're gonna it's like the county is kinda tricking people. You can go to a store, you could purchase a bird, and then if that bird exhibits what it was born to do, which is flight, then you get a citation. So that's a problematic in itself. It makes no sense. So, it, um I'm sorry it's come to this point. I really wanted to be friends with her. I knocked on the door to try and talk to her about it. But the reason why it's a personal attack and really has nothing to do with the birds is I did start to make changes to adapt the house better for the transition, the birds here. I built a trellis on a side of the house that's not visible at all where she lives or from the street. But she called code enforcement and they came over and gave me a citation for that. And that has nothing to do with noise or birds flying or anything. So unfortunately, it's really just a personal attack. And the way to hurt me was by going after my birds.
Her
And
argument could be, though, she's lived in this house for a while and she doesn't want to wake up to a bunch of birds outside her window. It's not like 1 or 2
yeah, okay,
pets.
absolutely. And listen, yeah, her rooster wakes up my birds.
I've
Okay.
met the rooster.
Her rooster wakes up my birds. And her dog's barking. They're not that close to her. They're not on her windowsill like she says. Yes, they are loud. And it's not, a constant thing. It's a few seconds. But you eventually get used to it. People run their air conditionings. There's other noises. It's not just them, but there are moments when they're loud, just like her rooster's loud and her dogs are loud. I'm not gonna call the news and say, "A dog has woke me up," but her rooster wakes up my birds, and I don't that's you have to coexist, you need biodiversity or there'd be no humanity.
One question I have, I feel silly asking about it, but
Don't.
so these are mainly rescue birds, right? And then there's the concern about the airplanes because it is sort of close to the airport. Do the birds fly, these particular birds, do they fly that high?
No, a
Okay.
macaw doesn't first of all, the birds that have interfered with the airplane, they're birds that flock, and the one that everyone's familiar with were the Canadian geese, which weigh 20 times more than a macaw, and macaws don't flock. They're either in ones or twos, that's it. And they're low-flying birds, they don't have the capability to soar like a bird of prey, or the Canadian geese, they fly in the V-shaped pattern for a reason, for migration, and it's a aerodynamics, why one's in front and they switch their off and all that. Macaws don't have that. They're low-flying birds, they're afraid of almost everything, especially something bigger than them and a plane. Are you kidding me? Nothing to do with that. And they're really paper tigers, but they can be loud a couple of times a day. But I think that they're noises that you would get used to, and if you put them in a cage, that doesn't stop them from screaming. So saying they must be in an enclosure, that doesn't stop them, that it makes them louder. Their behavior is more erratic, aggressive, and they pull their feathers out. It's a horrible existence for them. When you take away their flight, it's kinda like declawing a cat. It ruins you think it's just like a nail cut, but it's not. It's not like a haircut. It destroys them.
One of the things I appreciated, Kyle, this was your story. The neighbor's email piqued some interest. I said I would go with you.
Yes.
And we knocked on your door, and you didn't say, "Shoo away, reporters." You were like, "I'll talk to you."
One
And I
would think
actually
you might.
really appreciate when people are open to talking with us.
It was a nice surprise because for reasons we might get into a tiny bit later, you might be distrustful of the media, and you were very open to us and you've been open. That was the first of a half a dozen stories that I've done, more that we've done as a news team, and yeah, that was very nice. That was a good experience for us and in general as a reporter.
And we appreciate the neighbor reaching out, right? We wanted to bring both sides of the story. Before we forget, Kyle, you did reach out to Shauna.
I did.
She did send you a lengthy statement.
She
but
did.
What was just the gist of her response?
I'll give you
to be
in
fair?
part. She says, I appreciate that Channel 8 and the I team took the time to investigate this story and listen to the voices of the residents who have lived here for many years. Thank you for helping bring attention to an issue that significantly affected our community and for being part of the process that has helped restore peace to our neighborhood. So perhaps I'll
Okay.
post a longer thing online. Go
Can
ahead.
I address that? All the other neighbors love the birds. They want them in their trees. They said, Heidi, bring them to our house. I'm friendly with all the other neighbors. Every house on the block behind me, every house. They're all love the birds. And even, I don't want to say people's names, but in I guess the condominiums there, I've even met them. The first time I was there, I met two seniors and they went over, they loved the birds. They wanted to touch the birds. And there's one person complaining. There's just one person who's doing this. And as you know, there was a hearing that we had.
Yes.
And there's going to be another oral argument hearing up. And now it's in a real court where I can make my argument.
It's in the Clark County District Court now.
Yes.
And that is appealing essentially the hearing master's decision that says that you have to pay those fines that
I don't care about paying the fines. It's not about that. It's a bigger picture. Is saying a bird not allowed to fly, must spend its life in a cage. And that's not what that ordinance was intended for.
What you told me was, if you look at the story I did closely, was that the bird in the cage, you can see its bare flesh because that's what they do when they're caged?
Yes. They pull out their feathers. Their behavior is weird because they're not meant to sedentary life. That kind of movement and the flight is essential. It's not optional. It's essential. And I gave you that other footage of that bird. It's hard to tell, like, without context what it is. Of that bird, she's plucking. She has Tourette's with her head bobbing and pulling. And the one behind it is perfectly calm, looking like, what is that? He was freaking out because he's a feather, no problem, because that one's flighted. And it really, and look, at this species probably suffers more than any other species because of its long lifespan. It has such a long life. Right now, you can go, I'm out of here. But there's a bird locked in a cage in a basement that's been there 40 years and has another 40 years to go.
All right. For those of you who think Heidi Fleiss is here, why is she talking about birds? After this break, we'll start from the beginning a little bit and see how all this began. Stay with us.
Welcome back to The Investigators. I'm Vanessa Murphy here with Kyle Payne and Heidi Fleiss. We have been talking about your battle with your neighbor over your birds. I do want to ask you, what do you love about the birds?
Nothing. They're horrible. They're horrible, but something about them has my heartstrings. And I think it's when I saw a scarlet macaw in a cage, I asked the person, when's the last time I was out of the cage? I thought she'd say a few months. She's like, I don't know, 20, 25 years. And I was like, oh, no. This is getting them out of the cage is way more important than rich people having sex. So
a reference to your prior.
Yeah, because that's why I moved to Nevada, was to enter the sex business. But once I saw this problem with the birds and that I didn't hear anyone do anything about it, I changed my life.
So it's not a hobby.
What did she call me? I'm not a collector. I'm not a hobbyist. This is the right thing to do. And Leonardo da Vinci, I'm no genius, but he paid to free birds. He was against the cages. He's like the first recorded animal activist.
Right,
And
but you were a businesswoman
yes,
at some point.
Sure.
And you moved here. And this wasn't just like you started doing it. It became, for lack of a better word, a lifestyle for you, an obsession.
I could not continue my life knowing this problem exists and ignore it.
So what happened?
I'm still doing it.
Well, you bought this bird sanctuary in Pahrump.
I've been in Pahrump. To her personal attacks of failed sanctuary in Pahrump and all that. I don't have any failed sanctuary. It's a sanctuary.
Who's that, Shauna?
Yeah, it's in her report. It's a regular 501c3, but I don't like taking donations because people think they donate $1,000 that I have to spend time with them. So I don't.
Oh.
But this
But
is your
yeah, I
labor.
gave up my life to try and change it.
So tell us
it.
what that's like.
Yeah, what is
Do it-
day-to-day life for you now with all of these birds?
Well, data, it's complex and it's ever changing because it's uncharted waters for the right path forward and how to make progress. And I thought like moving to Las Vegas here would be a a good start, a better start than front because people can see there's a better way than a cage. But oh no go. But I've misread that one so much. Like I really didn't anticipate this problem because everybody loves them. Look at Disney World, Animal Kingdom, the highlight of the show, macaws come flying overhead because intrinsically it makes you feel good. But if you walk through a sanctuary, which is really a parrot prison, and they're all in cage after cage, you feel kind of creepy a little bit. And because it's totally unnatural, especially something built for flight to be in a cage.
What are
So
the costs like for to run something like this?
it's so much. There's so
Right?
much because the I've had to buy birds out of really horrible situations before, and
You you
there's things like that. I
you had
work with
said
a
you worked with one that had been used as a football.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that one passed away. Someone it was actually that happened in Las Vegas. Someone called me and said, "Heidi, you gotta come get these bird that these kids." I think the guy was dating the moms because I wanted more information. I wanted them to wrap a bird up in duct tape and throw it as a football.
oh my
Like, the
gosh.
things that I've seen, I've always been misanthropic, but now it's just so over the top when you just see what they go through and how much they suffer. It's easy to say, "Oh, a bird should spend its life in a cage or keep it in a cage." But when you see it up close and what that in reality translates to, it's really painful, and if you don't have some kind of reaction to it, then there's something wrong with you.
We occasionally will have a story that goes viral, and we weren't sure what would happen here, but no sooner than we did this story than TMZ called you. You had some
Everybody.
good lines for them. The Post got involved. International media got involved. There was also some networks or some documentaries. Tell us what the response to our stories was.
I Well, first of all, I was surprised to see you at the door. I was like first I was surprised to see animal control. I was like, "Who's"
It's just us.
I didn't even know who called animal control.
Heidi said, "What is Channel 8?"
I didn't
Who
know.
are you?
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought maybe some internet channel or
Good for
something.
our egos.
I thought maybe you're an
Who
influencer
are
or
these
something.
Yeah,
bloggers?
I'm the
Yeah.
opposite of an
These are
influencer.
the influencers. The opposite I looked up is called a sock puppet. I looked it up actually because that's but I was shocked when animal control came and they never even said your bird's not allowed to fly. He really didn't say much. And it just I was shocked to see you guys. And then after you, it was, People Magazine, TMZ, Daily Mail, the New York Post, on and on. And then a German TV crew came out and filmed, and then another one wanted to, and then HBO Neighbors tried to get it just went on and on. And in a way I thought, this is really good because uh, people should a lot of people aren't aware of it. Some people don't even realize that macaws can fly. And it's really good. And it's easy in this today where everything's so fast paced and there's so much information, it's hard to pay attention to something like a bird. But it does matter. It really does matter. And the it's wrong. It's just wrong. They're not meant to be our for our entertainment, to dance for us and say bad words. That's not their purpose here. And when I see their tortured existence, it's heartbreaking.
So what happened? What's the sanctuary in Pahrump like? And
It's a bunch of birds without cages who are crazy. A
do the
lot
neighbors there have a problem?
No, I have like 50 acres.
Oh, it's big there.
Yeah, but in the morning they go fly. The ones that can fly, look, a lot of them, even though they're free now, they'll never fly because when they're young, they're put in cages and they're never developed those muscles and they're atrophied and there's all kinds of stuff.
You know what, Heidi? We're going to stop right here and take
Okay.
a quick break, okay? Stay
Okay.
with us.
Welcome back to The Investigators. I'm Vanessa Murphy with Kyle Payne and Heidi Fleiss. Thank you so much for joining us. We are talking about your love of birds. You have somewhat of a feud going on with a neighbor, and you watched Kyle's report. He did refer to you as
As a Hollywood madam, a former Hollywood madam. There's no escaping who you are, Heidi, right?
I'm not trying to.
No, but we said we'd talk about the birds, but
I have no shame about it.
one day we'd like for you to come back and really get into
Absolutely,
the journey
I'll
of
tell it
Heidi
all. I'll
Fleiss.
tell everything you hear, all the questions. I tell all that.
It's probably pretty good. But it also reminds me of when I was there, my memory not being what it used to be. You told me about Gin and Juice, whose names I'll never forget. They are now famous parrots from our story,
Yeah.
but also Roscoe and Charlie. And I said to you in a text, what's the name of the other one, Roscoe's partner? And you said Charlie, as in Charlie Sheen. And I thought that might actually be who it's named after.
They come with their name.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, they come with their Gin and Juice. No, they came via someone in Snoop Dogg's organization.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why.
Really?
So, yeah, so of course I had to name them.
So now, without getting into
Whoa.
too much, you're still in the periphery, at least, of the A-list.
I'm just trying to help the birds that are
Okay,
stuck
all
in
right.
cages, you know.
All right.
And
Because there are some famous animal activists who are well known.
absolutely, I know who
and
you're
now
saying.
you're one of them. So you must get calls from all across the world about these birds.
I do.
And what are they like?
I make my phone number available for
Yes.
anybody who has a problem with a macaw or a parrot to call. Like a lot of times they, what do I do? It's throwing up, but it's just regurgitating. And a lot of things just bird owners don't know because they don't come with any kind of. Actually, when I first got these birds, my father was still alive. He introduced me to professors at USC, different scientists. I met all these people, read internet, read books. All wrong. It was learn as you go. It's learn as you go.
So, in wrapping up, you have this passion for the birds. You are well known for many reasons, a variety of reasons. What do you want your legacy to be? And my guess is it's about the birds.
It's that Hollywood madam that freed the birds.
Well, that's a pretty good one.
It's such a daunting. I was naive going into it, though.
But you won't be able to retire from the bird thing, I imagine.
You'd have to kill me to separate me from them. If there was a better place for them, I would put them there. But you can't just release them to the wild. They wait for the UPS man to bring their food. They just look at making them spend their life in a cage is wrong. It's just wrong. If of all things, something that's built for flight, it makes no sense.
When you get these calls about the birds,
I get the bird calls.
Is that somebody
get it.
making bird
I
calls
get
behind
it.
us?
It's your
Who
boss.
is doing that?
I get it.
It's okay.
I get it.
There's a lot that goes on here at Channel 8, and if nothing else, I'm sure they're
I
happy
like
to
it.
try and
Very good.
distract
We
us.
can give the boss a
Very
piece
cute.
of our
We'll
mind
be
for doing this because he's the only one
We'll
who
be
would do
giving it
that.
right back to them,
Yeah,
unless
very
there's
cute.
some wild animal here. But Heidi, it was lovely of you to join us.
We
but so,
appreciate you coming.
Are you planning on not staying in this house now? What's the conclusion to this
Well,
drama?
I'm kind of mixed feelings that look, I'm not going to stay there without my bird. So I'm trying to figure things out in my head what to do. Whether let's see whether I obviously have more than 20 birds. A lot of them are in the end stages of their life. And I just have to few things to figure it out. It's here, Calabasas here. I want to stay in Las Vegas. That's my preference. I love it here. I really want to stay here. I've loved my time in Nevada. I've had so much fun here. Or else I would have went back to LA a long time ago.
And how was your experience on the 8 News Now Investigator streaming show, available on our streaming app every Monday at 7:30?
My new best friends.
Yeah, we're having a great time. In fact, that is our show for today. We did mention 7:30 Mondays for this to
And
debut.
you will put Shauna's
I'm
statement
going to
on our
add her
website, to
statement
be
on
fair.
our website, and I want to make sure everybody knows that Vanessa Murphy's excellent show, High Heels and Hidden Truths, is on Wednesdays at 7:30, so you can watch any of that, and you can read all of the really extensive work we've done on the Heidi Fleiss bird story, also on our
Bird
website.
battle.
Yes, the
Thank
bird
you
battle.
so much.
So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.